on sidewalks, on the floor, at the neighbors, in the market, in hallways, in churches, under trees, at kitchen tables, in riverbeds. Learning doesn't only happen between four walls. Learning happens in the small space of your enormous, beautiful mind. Start where you are. Use what you have. Learn on one. Invite learning in.
Hello, grade 7 learners. Welcome to my Zone online school. My name is Pietres Futto, and then together with me here, I am joined by Pomweno. Let's welcome Pomweno. Let's untie our hands, and then we maintain the social distance. Okay. Science, grade 7, lesson 3, sexuality and sexual health, STDs, HIV, and AIDS. Okay, grade 7 learners, let's all turn to page 22. First of all, we are going to look at our basic competence for today. The first basic competence says that a learner in grade 7 must be able to describe different ways of showing affections that are safe. And then the second one says that a learner must be able to describe sexually transmitted diseases, STDs, in terms of transmission, preventions, and then the consequence. And then it says that a learner must be able to explain what HIV is. And then the next one says that explain how HIV is transmitted, and then name the body fluid that can be infected with HIV. And then the last one says that explain what HIV and AIDS are, how they attack and then destroy the body, and then that people with HIV usually don't show any sign or symptom, but they can still spread the disease. Okay, before we move on, we need to look at our keywords. The keywords are as follows. The first one says sexually transmitted diseases, STDs. These are the diseases that transmit from one person to another person through unprotected sexual intercourse. And then the second keyword, it says they are affection. Affection is a friendly or a loving feeling toward people around you. Thank you. Then, as it says, our first competence says, a learner in grade 7 must be able to describe different ways of showing affection that are safe. So the different ways of showing affection that are safe are as follows: by hugging, holding hands, shaking hands, walking arm in arm, having picnics, having fun together, kissing. But then as you are kissing, you must take some cautions, because it can be that the person that you are kissing is having some, if the person that you are kissing have an open lips, have an open cut on his or her lips, then that, and then you're also having an open cut on your lips, that might end up transmitting the virus. And then the last one, it says by giving presents. All of us, we know that, especially on the 14th of February, the day that we know as our Valentine's Day, most of us, we give and then we receive presents from our loved one. As a result, that's also a way of showing affection to our friends. Okay, let's move on. The next thing, it says that we must be able to describe sexually transmitted diseases STDs in terms of transmission, prevention, and then consequence. So meaning that first of all, we are going to look at how these STDs they transmit, and then the second thing we are going to look at how to prevent them from transmitting, and then the last thing we are going to look at the consequence. But first of all, let's look at some examples of STDs. Examples of STDs are HIV and AIDS, the syphilis, the gonorrhea, the chancroids, and then the genital warts. Let's move on. Let's now look at how these diseases transmit. As it says, how can these diseases be transmitted or spread from one person to another person? These diseases can transmit or through exchanging of semen during sexual intercourse. Another way how they transmit through blood or vaginal fluid contact. Thank you. Let's move on again. Let's now look at how we can prevent the spreading of these diseases. As it says, how can the spreading of these diseases be prevented? So you can prevent the spreading of these diseases by avoiding the contact of body fluids such as blood, semen, vaginal fluids, and then many more. And then another way of preventing the spread of these diseases is by use of condoms all times during sexual intercourse, or to make it short, by condomizing. And then what are the consequences of getting these STDs? So the consequence is illness, or to say it causes illness, causes death, causes blindness, risk of cancer in women, genital warts, and then it also results in the inability of having children, and then it also causes madness. Okay, then the next thing that we need to look at, it says that as a learner in grade 7, you must be able to explain what HIV is. HIV stands for Human Immunodeficiency Virus, and it's a virus that causes the disease AIDS. Okay, then we are moving on to the next thing that you need to know today. Okay. We are moving on to page 24. On page 24, it says that you must be able to explain how HIV is transmitted and how HIV is transmitted and HIV can spread. Okay, let's make a change here. Where it's written, it says explain how HIV is transmitted and HIV can be spread quickly. I want all of us just to erase or to draw a line from and HIV can spread quickly from one person to another in the following ways. I want us to remove that one. Then you will just end where it says explain how HIV is transmitted. Then that will be right. So HIV is transmitted through sexual intercourse, or to be specific by saying HIV is transmitted through unprotected sexual intercourse. And then another way it says it is transmitted through blood contact, and then it is also transmitted from mother to child during birth. Then we are also required to know the body fluids that can be infected with HIV. The body fluids that can be infected with HIV, we speak of the semen, we speak about the vaginal fluids, or to say the discharges, we speak about the blood, and then we speak about the salivas. Those are the body fluids that can be infected with HIV. The next thing that you need to know in today's lesson is what is HIV and then AIDS. HIV is a human virus, while AIDS is a disease caused by HIV. And then HIV stands for Human Deficiency Virus, while AIDS stands for Acquired Immune Deficient Syndrome. Then the last thing that you need to look at today, it says that we must be able to explain how HIV and AIDS are attacked and then destroy the body, and then that people with HIV usually don't show any sign or symptom, but they can still spread the disease. Okay, how does HIV attack and then destroy the immune system? It says, when HIV or AIDS enters the body, it attacks the body's immune system, specifically the white blood cell. These white blood cells are the ones that protect our body from being infected by bacteria or viruses. However, when the white blood cells are attacked by HIV or AIDS, the body's immunity becomes weaker and then weaker. When the immunity becomes weak, the body will no longer be able to fight against illness. Therefore, different diseases such as TB will just pop in the body. That's how HIV and AIDS attack and then destroy the body. So in today's lesson, we have looked at different ways of showing affection that are safe. Then he said, okay, so in today's lesson, we have looked at different ways of showing affections that are safe. And then he said that different ways of showing affection that are safe, we speak about hugging, kissing, shaking hands, and then many more. So long as you make sure that the thing that you are doing, it's safe, it will not result in you getting some other STDs such as HIV and AIDS. Okay, and then we have also looked at what? Sexually transmitted diseases, or to say STDs, in terms of how they spread, how to prevent the spreading of these diseases, and then the consequences. And then he said, these STDs, they spread from one person to another person through body fluids, such as the semen, the vaginal fluids, and then others. They also spread through unprotected sexual intercourse. And then we have also looked at how to prevent the spreading of these STDs. We say that you can prevent the spreading of these STDs by avoiding the contact of body fluids. And then you have also said that we can prevent the spreading of these diseases by using a condom whenever we are involved in sexual intercourse. And then the next thing that we have looked at what is HIV. We say that HIV is a human virus that attack and then destroy the body's immune system. And then the next thing that we have looked at, we have looked at how HIV is transmitted, and then we have looked at the body fluids that can be infected by the virus. So we say that HIV is transmitted from one person to another person by means of what? Blood contact, from mother to child during birth, and then through unprotected sexual intercourse. And then the last thing that we have looked at, we have looked at how HIV and AIDS attacks and then destroy the body's immune system. Then he said, once HIV and AIDS enters your body, it attacks and then destroy your body's immune system. Specifically what? Specifically the white blood cell. These are the cells that protect our bodies from being infected by different viruses and then many more. However, when these cells are then being attacked, it means that our body's immune system will not be able to fight against different diseases. All right, Mr. Futo has prepared some questions for you here. And then let's all turn to page 25, where we will find our questions. As it's written there, activity 1, number 1. Describe different ways of showing affections that are safe. I think that all of us, you can answer this question. Number 2, describe sexually transmitted diseases, or to say STDs, in terms of transmission, prevention, and then the consequence thereof. And then number 3 says, explain what HIV is. The second last question says that explain how HIV is transmitted, and then name the body fluids that can be infected with HIV. And then the last one says that explain what HIV and AIDS are, how they attack and then destroy the body. So I'm hoping that all of us will be able to answer these questions. But then if you happen to find out that you are struggling to answer 1 or 2 questions, please go through again. Thank you, and then have a blessed day. But then don't forget to sanitize your hand, and then you keep the social distance between you and then the next person. Thank you. Enjoy your day.
Hi everyone, my name is Shoshi, and I am Peck. My mommy used to tell me that I need to wash my hands and sanitize it to keep the germs away. Also, one thing you can remember is to sing the alphabet song while you wash your hands. After that, it will be super clean. I usually do it. And until next time, bye!
Welcome to My Zone Online School. My name is Regan Liswaniso, and welcome my friend here. His name is Pomwene. Before we begin with today's lesson, I would like us to follow the COVID-19 rule regulations. First off, we start by sanitizing our hands. You rub the sanitizer in your palms, through your fingers, and on top. And do not forget to check the social distancing. Make sure that the person is at least 1 meter from you. Today's lesson is sexuality and sexual health, focusing on STDs, HIV, and AIDS. Okay, learners, let's turn to page 23. Let's start with today's competencies. By the end of the lesson, you should be able to explain that there is no cure yet for HIV/AIDS, but there are life-prolonging treatments. Discuss the myths and the taboos around HIV and AIDS. Some of the words that we are going to encounter today are taboo, which simply means a social or religious custom prohibiting or restricting a particular practice or forbidding association with particular person, place, or thing. And myths, a widely held but false belief or idea. Explain that there is no cure yet for HIV, but there are life-prolonging treatments. There is no cure yet for HIV, but there is medicine for life-prolonging treatments called antiretroviral, or simply known as ARVs, for treating HIV infections and to prevent it from becoming AIDS. Let's turn to page 24. Myth and taboos around HIV and AIDS. Discuss the myth and taboos around HIV and AIDS. There have been a lot of myths and taboos that spread about HIV and AIDS over the years. We need to be aware of these myths and taboos because wrong information is dangerous and can lead to further spreading of HIV and AIDS. For example, having sex with a virgin can cure HIV/AIDS. Having sex with a virgin cannot cure HIV and AIDS. HIV/AIDS turns your skin lighter. You can get HIV/AIDS by sharing utensils. HIV/AIDS patients are always thin. These are all false stories, but myths to mislead the nation, especially people that are easily convinced. Now let's look at some of the ways how HIV/AIDS can be transmitted. Unprotected sex. When you practice unprotected sex, you are at risk of contracting HIV because bodily fluids are being exchanged. Drug addicts. During the use of drugs, this affects your brain, it alters your judgment, and lowers your decision making. So you are most likely to engage in unprotected sexual intercourse or share needles that may contain blood. And we all know that HIV lives in the bodily fluids such as blood. blood transfusion, mother to child transmission of HIV can be during pregnancy or at birth or through breastfeeding. Non-sterile instruments. How is HIV/AIDS not transmitted? One cannot contract or transmit HIV through touching, through sharing of food, or through kissing. Why is it not possible for someone to get HIV through kissing? Because HIV cannot live or cannot survive in salivas. Insects bites. This is also one way on how HIV cannot be transmitted, because insects do not have receptors and cannot get infected by HIV. Therefore, they cannot transmit HIV virus because it's digested in their stomach. Or simply by taking a swim in the pool with someone, you cannot get HIV/AIDS. Let's turn to page 25 for our self-assessment. Discuss the myth and taboos around HIV and AIDS. Remember to sanitize your hands. Again, rub through your palm, on top of your hand, and through your fingers. Remember the social distancing, at least a meter between you and the next person. Always wear your masks whenever you are outside. Until next time, have a great day.
What is social distancing? Hi everyone, I am Zoshi, and I'm back. It literally just means that you need to stay home all the time and keep away from crowded places. And remember to keep your distance from your friends too. Everybody stay safe. Yay! Till next time. Bye!
This fishing community on Mozambique's northern coast has been hit hard. People here are suffering from high rates of malnutrition, but that's not all. The greatest concern is the high rates of HIV infection and AIDS, the main cause of death in adults and young people across Mozambique. Poor nutrition makes it even more difficult for people to fight the disease. 21-year-old Alima Artur is the daughter of one of these fishermen. A few years ago, she suddenly started suffering from an unknown illness.
Me encontrei desesperada, totalmente triste. Minha vida só era chorar. Pensei que eu já estava a ir já.
All this changed the day Alima met Arlek Anna Abel from a project called Chapani. With support from IFAD, the International Fund for Agricultural Development, and the Belgian Fund for Food Security, staff from Chapani work with villagers to combat the dual threats of HIV and malnutrition. When Alima tested positive for HIV and AIDS, Arlette encouraged her to form a support group. Alima chose her father and aunt, who helped her to stay optimistic and healthy. In fact, teaching people to eat well is an important part of Arlette's work.
Eu ensinei elas para que pudesse enriquecer os alimentos para ela poder as hemoglobinas não baixarem. Então, já se alimenta agora de verduras, não só do peixe.
As part of the Chapani project, cooking demonstrations are held for everyone in the community. The session today features the highly nutritious moringa plant, a fast-growing, drought-resistant tree unknown to many locally. Now it has become a popular item in the local cuisine. Maria Machambi, who is not HIV positive, is learning to create her own garden with more than 6,000 other families in the area. The idea is spreading quickly throughout the community, with locally trained volunteers now leading the process.
They share their ideas with their neighbors and everyone gets excited. For us, that is key. Once communities own the process and they don't need an external person to tell them how to cook food, how to prepare it, they do it within themselves.
The success of the project has motivated IFAD to expand nutrition education across the nation over the next 3 years. Meanwhile, Alima is playing a key role in spreading the word about healthy living. Through songs, she informs people about safeguarding against HIV and AIDS, adopting healthy eating habits, and learning to cope with the disease.
Vê lá, me repara só. Sabe, uma pessoa pode me ver, não saber que eu tenho esse tipo de problema. Hã? Estou bem, hein? Viste?
And with more than 10% of Mozambique's adult population infected with HIV, this message has never been more pertinent. This report was produced by Jonathan Elliott for the United Nations.
Hi Namibia, I'm Sister Hulda Navasis, a registered nurse currently working at Namibian Oncology Center, Windhoek. I'm here to encourage each and every Namibian to stay home in order to slow the spread of the 2019 novel coronavirus. Physical distancing is very important. We will still be socially connected. Therefore, my people, be part of the solution. Stay home.
COVID-19 affects people very differently. Many people show no symptoms at all, but some are hospitalized for weeks. So what does the disease do to your body? The coronavirus enters through the mouth, nose or eyes. It then usually attaches itself to cells lining the nose, throat, airways or lungs. It can turn these cells into factories that multiply and spread the virus. For the majority, a fever, cough and breathlessness are as bad as it gets. But the virus can damage the small blood vessels lining the lungs and initiate clotting. The alveoli are tiny air sacs where oxygen goes into the blood. If they become inflamed, it can trigger pneumonia. Seriously ill patients need to be given oxygen as the lungs fill with fluid and debris.
I legit couldn't breathe. My oximeter was measuring under 88% oxygen levels, which is very dangerous. And the only time I ever thought my life was in danger was at that point.
COVID-19 doesn't just affect the lungs. It can also disrupt the immune system, which is used by the body to fight illnesses. Cytokines are part of the immune system that find and signal infections. For some people with severe COVID-19, this system can go into overdrive. If too many cytokines build up, it can cause an overreaction that damages healthy cells. This is called a cytokine storm for the most severe cases. COVID-19 can lead to seizures or even a coma. It can also cause brain problems that lead to strokes. The immune system overreacting can cause clots that stop the blood supply to parts of the brain. Brain inflammation, psychosis and dementia-like symptoms can